Okay, we'll do a few examples on this other sheet. This one, number 2, is something where I have two terms. So if it's two terms, I better have a minus in the middle if I'm going to factor, because I'm going to need to multiply a plus and a minus to get things to cancel out correctly. Also, to get it to cancel out correctly, I need to use the same number twice. So 9 times 9 is 81. And in the back, it's going to be 5x times 5x is negative 25x squared. If I were to try to multiply out, check my first term and my last term. My first term is a negative 45x. My last term is a positive 45x. So my negative 45 and my positive 45 would cancel out to make a 0. And that's what I end up with there. On this next one, for number 6, is one of the ones with 3 terms. So one of the ones with 3 terms, you are definitely, we hope that I can use the most obvious thing for 100, which is 10 and 10. The only thing that's going to work for the 1 is the 1 and 1. Usually these will be the same thing twice. To get a minus in the middle, they're both going to have to be minus, because a negative times a negative will still multiply to make the positive one I need, but it'll add to make the negative number I need. Now, to figure out if I really do get a negative 20, I need to check my middle terms. So multiplying the 10 times the negative 1 is a negative 10x. Negative 1 times 10 is a negative 10x. You might be tempted to say they cancel, but negative 10x plus negative 10x makes a negative 20x, which matches what I had originally. So that means my correct answer is a 10x minus 1, 10x minus 1, or the short way to write that is 10x minus 1 parentheses squared, which means the same thing as what I had in blue there. It's just a shorter way to write it with the square. We're going to go ahead and work one more problem. I'm going to do one like number 10. It's got 2 issues. First of all, it starts with a negative. And anytime it starts with a negative, I want to factor out something negative. And in this case, I can actually factor out something other than negative 1. I can divide a negative 2 out of each of those. So I'm going to start by factoring out a negative 2. And then negative 18 divided by negative 2 is 9x squared. A positive 60 divided by negative 2 is a negative 30x. And then a negative 50 divided by negative 2 is a positive 25. So that's what I have so far. Now, what times what makes 9x squared? Well, that's going to be 3x and 3x. What times what makes 25? That will be 5 and 5. So that's a 3x minus 5, 3x minus 5. Stick the negative 2 in front. So I have a negative 2, then a 3x minus 5, parenthesis squared. And the negative 2 I just bring down, because I always have to bring down the GCF. And if I have the same thing written twice, I have to do that. To make sure it really works, I do need to check, though, that first and middle terms. So outside terms make a negative 15. Inside terms make a negative 15. And when I put those together, negative 15 and negative 15 really does check out to negative 30. What you're trying to check out is the number you had right before that step of factoring, not the 60 from the original problem, but the negative 30 that I had after my first step was done, or immediately prior to that step where I'm trying the factoring. So this would be your answer on this one. For one like number 14, we won't take the time to work through it, but your first step would be to get everything on one side. So 36x squared plus 12x plus 1, and then you would need to factor it like we did just a second ago, and then set both of your parentheses equal to 0 like we did on the last worksheet. And of course, the ones that say solve are going to give you the answers like down at the bottom of your box, like these here are going to be the ones you get for the answers to those solved problems. Please reach out if you have any questions. I hope these videos